What's up, everybody? Today we're taking a look at the Headrush Looperboard and the top 7 features of this board. Yes, that was me over a year ago shooting my very first gear review video. You know, I've been a looper for over 5 years, I've owned a number of different loopers, and while they were each good at simply looping, they didn't offer me much beyond that. And today the features of the Looperboard aren't just better, in many ways it's like a new board. Seriously. As musicians, we're constantly weighing out features, sound quality, functionality, and convenience. And previously, this board offered pretty much all of that. But what's different about this board and about this company is rarely does a product evolve like this one has, all based on the requests of its users. Headrush listens to its customers, and to me, that right there is enough reason to buy into this brand. I was one of the first people in Canada to get my hands on it. I sold a massive pedal board in exchange for what is still my current setup. It's smaller, it's lighter, and in terms of functionality, it was still an upgrade. After using the device for a bit, I decided to make another video. I went out on a limb and made a top 7 ways the Headrush Looperboard could be improved, with the hopes that they were watching. Oftentimes with companies, you feel distant, and like your wants and needs aren't their concern. After my first video, Headrush commented on that video, thanking me for making my video. So not only did they see my videos, you'll see in a minute, they were also listening. Headrush actually used a number of my suggestions from that video I shot last July. I'm so excited I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Ryan, and this channel is all about being a musician on YouTube. I review gear that I use, share tips based on my experiences to help you grow as a musician and even grow your presence on YouTube. So, it worked pretty well last time, so let's do it again. Here are the top 7 features of the new Headrush Looperboard firmware update. Oh, and while you're watching, I'd love to hear your favorite feature, so please leave it in the comment section below. Also, if you're keen to hear about a specific section, there will be time codes down in the description. Let's get into it. Alright, layout and UI or user interface. The visuals are cleaner, there's definitely more useful information on screen. Looking at the timeline here, you can see how it has evolved. It used to show you how many layers each track had, so that's not new, but now they've added the number of bars, which I appreciate, especially when we look at secondary functionality a little later in the video. You'll also notice in orange below each track it shows you a brand new feature I'll get into in just a second. When we look back at the previous timeline, there was a lot of information, some of which wasn't really necessary on that screen. The graphics are sharper, and they are now taking advantage of that nice screen they put on these boards with much nicer imagery. Now, improved graphics and an updated user interface are probably fairly expected during a firmware update. So let's get on to number 2, which is customizable foot switches. I started this video by saying that Headrush is listening to its customers, and here's an example of that. I often used to feel like there are so many foot switches on this board, and after using it a while, I don't know about you, but I would find myself not using certain ones. And that made me think, I wish I could program those switches to do something that I would find useful. Now currently it appears I can only program the top row of the 4 tracks, the stop undo buttons, to take on a different role. And those roles are specific to the list you see here. And more than likely, you're not going to have all set up at the same time. I've just thrown up some examples of what you can do with them. Remember, if you're using these as customizable foot switches, then you're losing the ability to stop or undo on that track. So if you have a loop where you're not using the 4th track, for example, then the stop undo switch would be a great place to put a fade all tracks option if that's how you wanted to end your song, just as an example. Alright, number 3, drum loops. One of the biggest features of the Looperboard when it first came out was that you were getting 300 drum loops that were actually usable. It didn't take people long to realize that there were some missing features. Let's take a look.
What I would love to be able to do is when I'm creating a track to be able to go in to import factory, and right in this window right here, a number of people have been talking about this, that I should be able to just right there click on it and be able to get an audio sample of that song.
So yes, they've added drum loop sampling, which enables the ability to hear the drum loop before you load it into your song. Then when you do load it into your song, you have the ability to load it as is or to match the BPM. Previously, you had to load up the drum loop and adjust the beats per minute manually. This is a game changer when trying to create music. The faster your workflow, the more likely you are to get what's in your head recorded into your looper. Remember, a looper is a performance tool, it's a recording tool, and it's definitely a songwriting tool. On top of that, they've also added a search field, which means you can search drum loops by genre rather than just scrolling strictly by beats per minute. Okay, number 4. Number 4 is effects. Let's look back at what I thought was missing before.
And I want to start with custom naming of effects. So for example, I'm going to click on effects and I go to click out and I'm in a rush to come in here and I've just played 4 or 5 songs in this set and I see, studio, dub. I might not remember what, dub 1 or dub 2 were. So to be able to name these custom,
Yes, now we can see the effects rack and the specific preset or custom effect, and because you can create custom effects, you can also name them, which makes this feature for me, and I'm sure for you as well, so much more usable in a live setting. Speaking of effects, let's talk about effects racks. Not only have they added 2 new effects racks with a rhythm effects rack and a vocal tuner effects rack, they've also updated how you view and edit these racks. Previously, they'd give you presets or the ability to go in and create custom racks. As you can see here, the interface made it seem confusing and overwhelming. There were tabs down the side that would try to guide you, but now each rack is broken down into categories that allow you to focus on that one specific area. For example, if I wanted to tweak reverb, before I'd have to find the reverb settings in this whole page of sliders. And now I just click on reverb and all of the parameters for adjustment of reverb are right there. It's just a much more enjoyable experience. Okay, number 5, extended use of secondary functionality. This section is near and dear to my heart. I put a lot of time and effort into my YouTube video talking about a variety of features that I thought could truly improve and enhance this part of looping on this board.
So for example, if I go to fade, now it does max out at 100, and I would love to see this extended to, even 200%. A slow fade is sometimes really, really nice to have.
So yes, they've increased the fade length to 200% and even included the number of bars and a time feature that shows you the real-time length of that fade to give you a sense of how long it will take.
One thing that would be amazing is to be able to fade in a track, to be able to go back and bring that track back in through the same fade that I faded out.
And yes, we can now fade in a track. These functions to me were a huge part of what set this looper apart from the rest. So I'm really happy they listened, and I hope you find them useful too. It's pretty cool that they actually listened. Thanks, Headrush! Okay, number 6, the Vocal Tuner Effects Rack. While the Rhythm Effects Rack is a great addition that I will definitely dive deeper into in the coming weeks, number 6 is all about the new Vocal Tuner Effects Rack. It offers a bunch of vocal effects like auto-tune, which admittedly I'm brand new to, but the knockout feature and the reason why this is number 6 is the fact that they're adding a vocal harmonizer. Right beside my looper board at every gig is my TC Helicon Harmony Singer 2. It's a vocal harmonizer that's the best I've ever heard. You run your guitar or keyboard through it via 1/4 inch, and the pedal harmonizes your vocals according to the chord you are playing. Not only does this feature now exist in the auto setting on your looper board, you can also predetermine the key of your harmonies and even what scale or mode you'd like the harmonies to follow. The biggest difference and upgrade for this feature is that I won't have to be playing my guitar in order to harmonize my vocals. I'll be able to set the key in advance and just sing. Again, it's new, so I haven't gone deep into this feature just yet, but as someone who already uses a vocal harmonizer, I'm definitely interested to see if my current pedal can be replaced. Leave a comment below if you'd like to see that comparison video of the Looperboard's harmonizer versus the TC Helicon Harmony Singer 2. Okay, for number 7, I've decided to call it Everything Else. There's simply too many other features, and I was trying to stay consistent with the whole 7 thing. I've done a top 7 features and the top 7 ways the board could be improved in the past, so I'm trying to stay with that. Okay, let's get into it. They've extended the loop length from 5 minutes to unlimited, which was a massive limitation for loopers that were used to unlimited loop length on other boards. The backing track is now foot accessible. Previously, you'd have to bend over and use the touchscreen to access different backing tracks. And now you can scroll through these tracks with your feet, making this a much more useful part of the board. They've also started to reduce the number of foot taps. A lot of people criticized this board for the tap dancing you had to do in order to achieve certain functions. So, for example, when you're going to your next song, it's now function, loop select, and then the song. So 3 taps, where you used to have to tap one more time to exit out. Personally, I still think it could be less taps to scroll to your next song. Hopefully Headrush is working on that. When tuning, you now have the ability to control which inputs are muted, so that while you're tuning your guitar, you can converse with the audience. Next, the foot switches now do what the labels say they do. This is hard to believe, but it used to be that despite it saying record, play, dub, meaning overdub, it was only a record and overdub button, meaning in order to play a pre-recorded track, you'd have to tap the stop undo button, which because of where it's located made it a little risky if you weren't watching. Yes, muscle memory kicks in after a while and you get pretty good at tapping without looking down, but being able to play a track by tapping the foot switch on the bottom row closest to your feet is a feature I will definitely appreciate. Okay, wrapping this up. What we have now is a looper that has been tweaked by musicians for musicians. This board isn't perfect. There are already things on my list for the next top 7 ways that this new firmware update could be improved. But what you're loading onto your looper is a massive step towards thoughtless performance, seamless transitions, and more efficient songwriting. If you have any other questions or comments about this update, I would love to hear them. I'm learning about it almost as quickly as you are. I just want to say real quickly, thank you to Headrush for all of your efforts to make this product better. I do agree that it is a far, far better looper today than it was yesterday. So thank you so much for watching. We will see you guys in the next one. Peace! I almost forgot. I wanted to give a huge shout out to all the musicians that were part of the beta testing group. It was a pretty cool experience getting to see the process and be a part of the brainstorming and all of the working through. So obviously this doesn't happen without Headrush, but it really doesn't happen without those musicians. So a huge thank you goes out to each and every person that was involved in that beta. Thank you again so much, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Let's do it one more time. Peace!